G'day, I'm Greg and welcome to the shed. I was out yesterday seeing some people and one of them said to me, can you get this out? It's a V8 Mercedes cylinder head which has had rather a traumatic life, or the last 20 seconds of its life were rather traumatic, which they're going to sort out that part of the trauma, but we've got a broken bolt in here which I'll zoom in and you can have a bit of a look at it and we'll talk about what we're going to do and how we're going to get it out. So yeah, hang on a sec, I'll be back. So this is an early V8. I don't know what engine capacity it is, and from my point of view it's not that big a deal. It's got the K-Jetronic injection system on it, which is continuous flow. They use a fuel distributor and they just flow fuel all the time, sprayed over the back of the intake valves. Now, I believe this stuff here in Australia anyway is extremely difficult to get hold of, so it's almost to the point where it's unobtainium. And it's pretty rare anyway, so I'm told, but that doesn't matter. They'll just need to be delicate and careful with that. They're overhead cam. For those of you who haven't done any work on these, if you see a Nissan L series motor, then you'll probably see the same. I just noticed there's another broken stud up here, so we'll it's not actually a stud, it's actually the oil feed. It looks like it's taken a big thump and it's been broken off, so it's oil feed to the camshaft. But what we have here, this is why the head came off, and hopefully you can see that. We might zoom in a bit. I can find the zoom on this. Zoom in and tilt it down, and yes, you can see these shiny bits are where the pistons hit the valves. The timing chain jumped a few teeth for whatever reason, and yeah, they've taken some pretty big hits. So we've got 1, 2, 3, we've got 4 bent exhaust valves. That one's actually touching the valve seat on one side, and I can get my scale rule in there quite comfortably. Same on this one, you can see this one's quite bent, or I can, angle I'm at. Same on this one. This one's pushed across quite a bit. Same with this one. So there might be a fair bit more trauma in there once they get it apart. Could even have some damaged guides to go with the bent valves. So that's incidental, but what it does do is, like this intake valve sitting up, it's above the face of the head. So it's that exhaust, and that one, these intakes are down. So because they've got the camshaft in it, they don't want to pull the cam out at the moment. That's their decision. We'll leave that there, but for what I'm going to do, it's not going to affect me to any great degree anyway. We'll zoom out a little bit, and box of wood so we don't damage the ceiling face. I'll probably have to do something with it, but interestingly enough, very little corrosion in this. Usually by the time I get to see any alloy head in Australia, it's pretty heavily corroded. Particularly in Western Australia, our water over here is not friendly. It's got a very high iron content in it, and so consequently when I do my own work I always use demineralised water or distilled water in my cooling systems. So the other problem we've got is that, we'll come down here, spin it around a bit so you get a bit more angle on it. These bolts that hold the manifold on go in at an angle. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 here, 5, there's another one in there, 6. Then we've got these 2 up the top, and it's this one here at the end that's broken. And we'll zoom you in a little bit. They've had a go at it themselves. Here we go. They've had a go at it themselves, and I had a go at it, just a bit of a go at it last night. And yeah, if I put any more pressure on it, what it's going to do is it's going to pull the thread out. So I want to try and save the thread. Not confident that we're going to, but it's worth a try, because these are reasonably deep, these threads. So from my thumb, oh, you can't see. Let's zoom out again. You didn't see that. What I did was I just put a felt pen mark on this one, zoomed out. From my thumb, yeah, we got 20 mil of thread depth in here, so there's no point destroying the thread if we don't have to. I could do the old-fashioned trick that a lot of people like, is to weld a nut on. The problem with this is there's probably that much crap in the threads that even if you do weld a nut on and you weld a nut on it, you get enough force on it, you can wind it out, you're probably going to take the threads with it. So we can be as brutal as we want and achieve nothing. Aluminium, when you put the heat in the aluminium, you'll soften it as well, so then it won't hold as well, so we've got to be a bit careful. And we'll zoom in onto this cam lobe as well, which I only just noticed. I don't think people that gave it to me even realised themselves that this one here is damaged. The other thing about it too is it's not just damaged, it's bent down. So that one there could be rather interesting. We might have to come in here with the end mill again and come in here with the end mill, flatten it off, and then remove the damaged section of thread before we can wind it out. So that one there could be a little bit of a challenge. And again, like everything on this, unfortunately it's the same thread, but it looks like it's at a different angle. So we'll zoom out again. There you go. Quick indication is that that's at one angle, this is at another, so we'll have to do two setups. Now, to do this, we'll bring this over. I had a bit of a play with it yesterday. I've got this angle vise, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the head bolt holes, drill the plate, drill some head bolt holes in here. It's just big enough. So we'll drill the plate, put some head bolt holes in it, bolt the head on, level it to, I want to say level it, we'll get it to the angle we need. We'll index off these so we get the angles right. We'll take a reference from probably this hole to the position of that hole. So then we can check this hole, and then I can come down on centre and that hole. Exactly the same. I'm working on the theory that they're mirrored, and I'd be very, very surprised if they're not. So we'll do that, and once we've done that, we'll pick up these camshaft ones while it's sitting in the mill. We'll pick up the camshaft ones and we'll have a go at them. So I'll be back in a little bit. So now what I'm doing is just verifying my measurements. I've got a straight edge up here because I want to pick up on these head bolt holes here. So what I've found is that nothing is the same twice. Instead of trying to measure from hole centre to hole centre, what I try to do, and I sometimes measure from hole centre to hole centre, but what I try to do is I measure from the edge of this hole to the far edge of the other hole. And what that does is that gives you a nice crisp line to work with. You can't always do it, but when you can, it makes it a lot easier. So this one's 130. So this one, these two holes are 113 apart, these two are 125 apart, these two are 101 apart, and these two are 113 apart, and that's all the room I've got to get on the pallet anyway. The good thing is that that's 117. I've had it marked down as 118, that's why we're checking stuff. $117, and we'll go to, yeah, we'll make that 117, not 118. So so now I can make I can mark the top of my pallet, get the pattern down, and we can get on with doing some machining, or drilling some holes, so we can put some probably some threaded rod through there. And on this side I might even use bolts, but we'll see what we've got. It might all end up being threaded rod, it might end up being bolts. We'll just come up with something that'll do it. And the other thing we'll need to do is we'll need to put some spacers under here just to hold it up a little bit, but that shouldn't be a problem either. We'll be back in a bit. Okay, what I've done is I've blued it with a bit of Prussian blue. Using Randy Richards scribe. What I've done is I've taken a line here about 20mm back from the edge. We're going to be right on the edges, that's where the centre of one bolt hole is. That's the centre of the other, so we're about 5mm in from each end, which I haven't made up my mind whether I'm going to use M8s or M10s yet. If we're M10s, we're going to be right on the very edge. If we use M8s, we're going to have a couple of mil to work with. And it's not super critical. M8s will probably be enough, so that's probably what we'll go for, but we'll drill them to pattern. So we'll have 6 bolts holding it in, but we're going to have to level it end to end, and so we don't want it too tight in the holes because we need to level it end to end. We need to be able to tilt it slightly, which we'll be able to do on the tilting vise anyway. So, and we're going to have to tram it in lengthways down the table because I want to be able to travel down and just pick up the holes as we go. Just want to be able to pick up the line and get my angles right using just a tapping size drill. Just go in there, feel it out, go through all the holes, so it doesn't matter where I go, I should be able to just slide them down until I get to the last ones, to the ones that I need to take it out, and then I can go end mill, plunge down, flatten it off, centre drill, and then drill through. But by that time what I'll also know is I'll know how deep I can go, or more to the point how deep I don't want to go. Especially when I get to the camshaft, because with the camshaft I don't want to touch the bearing journal. So I've got a bit of room for noise on the intake manifold one, but the camshaft one I've got no room for noise. So we'll go and set this up in the in the mill, and we will be back. Incidentally, all I did was these squares. Look, they're cheap. They're not ultra accurate, but what I'm going to be doing with this anyway is I will spot this in with the DRO. So this is more for guide than it is for absolute exact measurements, but it's very, very close. It's surprisingly close, actually. I always buy the aluminium ones. You get them in plastic anyway, and I treat them as a consumable. Once I've done a bit of work, you throw them out. But one of the good things about them is if I put it on here, and at the moment we've got 90 degrees, what I can do is I can rotate it round, and it will actually, I'll say I'll come around to here, there's a scale here on the back, and as I rotate it around, I now have 15 degrees, I have 35 degrees, I have 45 degrees. So you see the scale on the bottom here? So you just pivot it off this point here, across the scale, and the scale's on both sides. So it's, particularly if you're doing fab work, they're a chippy square, but they're great for knocking stuff out in a hurry. Like if you're fabbing up something and you're going to cut up with an angle grinder, you're not going to be within, well, if you can get it within a half a degree or a degree, you're generally doing pretty well in real terms by the time you've got your two angles. If you can keep it within half a degree, you're doing reasonably well. But what is good on this is it is actually marked, we've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, yes. So it's in 1 degree increments, and because of the length, it's reasonably close. So you can actually, you almost say the length, you've got a reasonably large gap between your scales. So I just find it very handy. You can get in there and you can actually do some pretty accurate work with it. And certainly for this, it's plenty rough enough because, as I said, we'll use the DRO to get our final measurements and our final indexing, and then we'll be so close it's not worth arguing over. But I've got some guidelines, some guide points to work with. We'll be back. So we've got it on the mill at last with a couple of the what's in your box jacks holding stuff up. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Just got a little bit of tension on these just to help dampen out some of the vibration. Now, what I've done is I've gone through with before I've just milled the top off this, I've gone through with this broken stud, that is. I've gone through with a drill bit and I've picked up all of the holes. If I grab the right drill bit, it will help. So what I did was I went through and made myself a map of all of the holes, and here's that map. And so this reference here is calculated based on the position of these three on the opposite end, because they're minus 13, this is plus 18.5, so this one will be plus 18.5, and I've worked out the difference, the distance from here to here, there to there, and when I set it up, it looks pretty good. So what I've done is I've now set this to 0, 0, so I can keep coming back to this point time and time and time again, because this, when we hold it down, is this one here. Now, in case you're wondering, there's the DRO, and yes, I know I'm not on 0, 0 because I'm just about to change out the 12mm. These are 12mm, these pockets here are 12mm, so I'm just about to change out the 12mm end mill. And we're going to go to a centre drill. I've deliberately left it a bit long at the moment. I don't want to mill it down to nothing, because I want to pick up the centre and see. Oh, it gives me a little bit more to get out of jail with, is probably a good way of putting it at the moment. So yeah, what we'll do is we'll pick up the centre, and I'll come back once we've progressed. We'll zoom in a bit now. And we'll change the camera angle a little bit. Switch across. So what I've done is I've tweaked it ever so slightly where we've moved 0.1 of a mil this way and 0.5 of a mil another way, and I've got to the point now where it's breaking off at the root of the threads. So you won't be able to focus on that because of this. So what we've got here, you can see we've actually got the thread starting to come off. So what I'm going to do is going to change to something slightly smaller, because now I know I'm very, very close to centre, and we'll change to something smaller, and we'll start drilling for keeps. Let's add some speed. Let's zoom in a little bit. Normally I'd be quite worried about having metal filings going everywhere, but this thing's got bent valves and the whole head's got to be fully stripped, rebuilt, put back together. So it's really not that big a deal. We don't have to be too fussed about it. Because they're going to have to strip it and clean it and do all the bits and pieces to it. So now this drill bit that I'm using is a 135 degree split point. My hand's in the way so you can't see it working. We're 5mm here because I'm deliberately staying well within side a range that gives me a bit of wriggle room. Just stop that for a minute. I'll turn you off. I'm going to go and get something to do a bit of measuring with. So by my rough gauge, which you can't see, I've got two marks here, and I've got to go at least another 5mm before we'll break through. There we go, we're through. So that's good. Give that a bite. And we're not even going to try to move that. Oh, where am I? No, I won't try to move that. We'll go a bit bigger. I'll be back. So we were on 5mm, we're now going to 6. And yep. I see a little bit of thread there. So let's see what we can do from here. I was hoping it was going to come out as a complete thread, but I couldn't be so damn lucky. Oh. We'll just keep at it. So what I've done there is I've just cleaned up the face so I can make sure that I'm exactly where I need to be. Because I go right. We're just so close to where we want to be. But we're not quite there. But now I can see it clearly. I probably want to move across about 1/4 of a millimetre. So we're not talking much. Alright, we'll change some tools out, we'll be back. So this thing here has been driving me up the wall and doing its best oops, there's one bit of thread to defeat me. Now, even now, I'm still struggling with it. So what that tells me is that there is no way, ever, that this was coming out. This was never ever going to come out, regardless of how much force we put on it. I had to sacrifice the top couple of threads to get it going, but sometimes you just have to do those things. And even now, as you can see, it's fighting me all the way. And there it is. Basically a complete thread. So now what we'll do is we'll run the plug tap through it, put them there, so I'll give them back to the owner. Just make sure we can pick up. Give that a blow. I am aware of that. I'm working very carefully. Because of it. Yeah, that looks good. Looks better than I was actually expecting. The top couple of threads look better than what I was actually expecting, so I'm pretty happy. Yes, I know I could be using the ratchet. Zoom you out of it. Actually, what I didn't do, clean the tap, but I didn't clean the hole it's going down into, and it's a blind hole. That's asking for trouble. Feels like. Let's see, what do we got? We got 10 mil. $10 mil out of 30, so we're down 20, so we're full depth. Fantastic. So while I'm about it, just getting too close to that. I don't mind working close to stuff, but there comes a point in time where I'm just not prepared to work as close as what I am, and this is one of those times. The risk has become excessive. So just while we're here, because it'll be very embarrassing, it'll be not so much embarrassing, it'll be extremely annoying for the client to get this back and find out that he's got some other threads that aren't quite up to speed. So we'll just give these a blow. And just run the tap through them. And we'll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And once I've done all of them, and then I'll get on to taking this one here out, which we'll do in pretty much the same setup, I think. So I'm going to hit the wall outside. I'll come back once I've got these done. Yeah, so it's all done. This came out nice and easy, a lot easier than the intake manifold bolt. So now I can take it off and take it back to the customer, who can rebuild it and give it to his client. A lot of work for a relatively simple job. I say relatively simple. I'd hate to be doing it in situ. As you saw, it fought me every inch of the way, or every millimetre of the way, because it's metric. Alright, thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe, please like and comment. As I've said before, subscribers are important to us small contributors. So thank you very much.